Ken Mode. Loved. How does that not freak you out? Ah. Well, if not, maybe this record might do that. In fact, the album is more really so. The band is technically a Canadian trio that's kind of been around a while, sort of during, I guess, kind of sort of in the late 90s or somewhere in the, I guess they started in 2000s or something with making records, somewhere maybe maybe in the early 90s, maybe somewhere in the late 90s. But for the most part, they've had maybe 6 to 7 albums, this probably included. Canadian trio most of the time, though it seems they've credited their saxophone, the saxophone that's kind of a very no-wave-esque variety. And that's kind of one of the highlights of this record, actually. That's somewhat kind of different from the last couple albums, I guess, that I've been listening to. Kind of known about them during Success and then started to check out their later stuff. Their earlier stuff, stuff with Venerable, and there was an album prior to that. Those were a little more metallic, meaty. But eventually it seemed like with the recent album, they seemed to go a little more into the punk direction of things. And definitely catering far more to the noise rock aspect of experimentation. And every album seems to do that for the most part. But last record was, as for those of you who kind of were welcome to the channel via a pretty well a best of the year list, sort of, while I'm still kind of getting my feet into the YouTube stuff. I had mentioned their last record in passing. This is that follow-up that I was semi-looking forward to when I found out about it. The last thing they did last year was like an EP that was kind of like pretty well B-sides to the last record, to that last record, Success. This, like Success, and especially in the album cover, is definitely kind of sort of a reverse statement of what is actually being said. Though in this case, you could pretty well just spell the word backwards and look at this dang photo and make all the sets in the world. Yeah, basically it says I'm gonna fuck you up. Halloween came early. So yeah. Of course, when your band's name is a capital K-E-N and it's a pronunciation for the phrase "kill everyone now," yeah, you kind of should expect something like this. And given their own musical style, which is essentially a culmination of sludge metal, post-hardcore, and noise rock. So that sort of breed of metallic hardcore, that's definitely more catering in the sense of punk and hardcore than metal, though it seems the metal communities do seem to love this band or willing to talk about them. But it seems that their particular circles seem to be more closer in catering towards bands such as Unsane, Big Black, or whatever the hell Steve Albini pulls out of his ass. And this album is definitely no exception to that. There's in tracks like even the Illusion of Dignity, and my kind of personal favorite in terms of just proper building up into those moments would be, just from more sonically, musically than anything, is This Is a Love Test. And like a lot of the titles here seem to kind of be do the same thing as, or pretty well makes that statement that I had said about Loved, about the title of this album, pretty obvious. And that is, besides This Is a Love Test, we would say Not Soulmates being one. Though I think after Not, but the way they kind of split that, they show us the track listing, they kind of put like a gap in between the track listing here, almost as if there's something to the other last half that's different in mood, that differentiates itself from the first half, or kind of giving you a sort of side A, side B kind of thing, I guess, in case they decide to do cassettes or vinyl with this. Though seeing this in vinyl would be even more freaky. Yeesh. No Dental Art is definitely one of the, Love Test is one of the, Fractures in Adults is in very small manner, far more streamlined. In fact, the latter half I like more because it's more reminiscent of what I liked about Success throughout. So on and so forth. Don't get me wrong, the choices of singles, which are from the first half, that doesn't feel pain like he should, Feathers and Lips, and Not Soulmates, were definitely great ideal ways to kind of get people interested in this record going into it. Though I wouldn't say that they hit me nearly as well as the 1-2 punch of the last record. And lyrically, it's just kind of all, for the most part, a lot of it's mostly from that of the Mathewson brothers, of Jesse. See, mostly vocals, guitar, some percussion, but should have some sort. But the percussions really comes off more like just distorted feedback, as far as I'm concerned. Which this album starts off with, kind of like they mostly start off every album with, just to kind of, it's like, shit, brace yourselves, you're in for some messed up stuff. And I think a lot of other people involved in this, within their circles or their family, kind of mentions a few things. And they've kind of recorded this since the beginning of the year, so it's been kind of a while since they've done this. A lot of particular pedals that I'm not as familiar with at all, except for the orange amplifications. Those I do know, so they definitely use orange. That's interesting. Let's see. Though Catherine Keir's saxophone is definitely some of the more highlights. It's a lot more bombastic in that same usual no wave kind of thing, and when it comes to Illusion of Dignity, but it's a way more structured in an easier digestible way through this as a Love Test. And there's definitely still more still leaves off from the last record of Success in the more punky aspects, but it's still clear that, like some of the previous couple records, a lot of more of the metallic elements, far more metal elements, start to seep back in, and it seems the band, I guess, is supposedly returning more to form as a noise rock act this time around, it seems, and is somewhat balancing out those things a little better, though it doesn't seem they're trying to really, aside from the saxophone, I don't see them really balancing things out as much as they had in past records. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, if you want some, this is definitely very much this is definitely far more on the noisier side. It's definitely, and far more archaic, abrasive, a little, definitely hard, like, even a little more on just, even far more along the lines of just somewhat cynical, possibly narcissistic, psychotic, sick, sadistic kind of level of noise rock that you get from bands like Unsane, like I said, with Unsane, Big Black. Definitely that the sludgy elements being more akin to the early Melvins of Gluey Port's treatments, the stuff which would have in turn's origins come through Black Flag's My War, meets like really early Fugazi on like the more crazier, more off the wall stuff that Fugazi would do with 13 songs, or at least the 2 EPs that became 13 songs, or this. And some of the lyrical content here is just definitely, some kind of dealing in terms of, a lot of it dealing with the aspects of relationships or of many sorts, whether it be with the having, and just, but to the extent of being somewhat borderlining sociopathic. It's a lot to wrap your head around, especially, like, the thing that I do have issues mostly with, that I didn't have nearly as much issues with of the last record, that I did it, which is why I enjoyed that one a little more. It's not even so much the harsher vocals at all. Those do come in great, and this as well as they did last record, but the quieter moments weren't, he's not using his harsh vocals. They are far more buried into the mix, and you can barely make them out. And that's a bit of a problem, you know, when you're trying to, especially if you're, even when I'm trying to follow the lyrics here, trying to listen to it. I have to basically turn up so I can hear him. But then I get a little whiplash from just the level of the noise. Like, it's forcing you to turn it up so when those heavier moments come in, it fucks you up even more. But I feel, and just, I don't mind those quieter type moments, and you hear the band sound, but the vocals are just kind of buried. And I really wish they try to just kind of turn it up so we can hear, if you're trying to give us these lyrics here you're trying to say, I feel like that was kind of, that in terms of the mix was just, I don't know if that was really meant to be intended or not, but but if it was, it wasn't a smart idea. And that's about the biggest complaint I have, especially in terms of, like with, and that was, I think, maybe my biggest complaint with This Is a Love Test. And I think No Gentle Art kind of does the same thing, but it does, I mean, it comes in a little bit better, I guess, there, but for the most part, it caters more to the fact that they have to rely on their harsher vocals a lot more if you want to hear them say something, which kind of sucks in that regard. And it's definitely one that has a much grittier bass line, kind of similar to the bass line that you begin on the track Blessed off of the last record, Good Success, which hits a lot harder, I think, and it does have this nice, just, it's definitely a heavier thing, and it's with No Gentle Art. And it's really just this part of stop giving, of him just repeating, stop giving me hope. I'm not even doing it right, but just, and you know, it's very much a lot more punky, as Doesn't Feel Pain Like You Should, Illusions of Dignity, Feathers and Lips, and Soulmates definitely do. Learn to Be Cold's kind of here and there. Very Small Man's fine. I liked This Is a Love Test a little better. I think Fractures in Adults kind of, it's around the time you kind of get used to it, what they were doing, but it's very more streamlined and easier to kind of take in. It definitely feels more like a punk or typical punk hardcore track in a good way. And then your No Gentle Arts start to kind of go into the no wavier territory, or at least they give off this spoken word sort of beatniky kind of thing. And it's just sort of tries to quiet before it just hits you with the bombasticness of the whole thing. And it takes a while to grow on people, and I can't say you're going to initially get that immediate reaction, because there are a lot of more moments on the previous record that's easier to digest, and I feel like that's the best record to start with, not so much this. I would probably start with this, maybe then go to maybe go to the end of this, and then maybe go backwards to Venerable. Or maybe listen to a certain particular track from Venerable. I'm forgetting the name of it, sadly. But it's definitely one of the longer tracks on there, but that is one of the highlights for sure. And it has a very Tool-esque vibe to it, which is part of the reason why I like that track off of that album. But overall, this album, I mean, the last record I'd say rocks at best. This, unfortunately, for the time being, is a thumbs up, but given time of growth and a chance to digest it a little more, and just how crazy, psychotic, cynical, nihilistic this is, in a sociopathic kind of way, come on. Seriously. Seriously, like, damn. Staring in my soul, not in a good way. I mean, I just... Jeez. Well, anyway, that's the best I can do with this. Best I can say on this. It may not be as high recommendation as I would say my last record, which I still praise at this point for what it is. But I feel like if you still enjoy what you get out of bands like Unsane, Big Black, Jesus Lizard, Flipper, Melvins, Fugazi, My Warrior, Black Flag, stuff along those lines, I feel like this will cater definitely to you wholeheartedly in that noise rock, no wave metal-ish kind of way. So, but that's personally just me. I don't know. What did you guys think of this album? Did you of Ken Mode's Loved? Did you like it? Or you just had to stay away from it because you were pretty well creeped out by the artwork? I mean, it's not going to be like a black metal record or anything. I mean, despite, you know, what this creepy album cover might have you believe. So, but yeah, leave a comment below, let me know. No, I mean, as always, guys, keep it real, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. And yeah. Take care, y'all.